Welcome to the Paranormal News Insider for the week of April 9th, 2019. And this is officially episode number 390. And this is your host, as always, Dr. Brian D. Parsons. And we are live on the Paranormal King radio network at paranormalking.com. And yeah, episode 390. I'm excited about it. It's getting close to the big 4-0. Yeah, I'm not really looking too far ahead in the future. I always told myself that I'm going to retire when I hit 500 shows, but if I make it that far, I might as well just keep going. So I don't know. And I was kind of hoping at this juncture of the show we'd have a nice somebody in the chat room normally is listening in on the chat, but I don't see him here. But I do want to thank, I should say, congratulate Jim Mallard of the Mallard Report. He's gonna have show number 400 tonight, so maybe he's kind of prepping. He's probably thrown up in a trash can, getting ready for his big show tonight, number 400. So I know I got to get my beauty sleep. I've been a little under the weather since last week. I don't know what's going on. If it's the weather changing or my crew's catching up with me a couple of weeks later. People, sick people. Don't go on vacation if you're sick. Stay home. That's what insurance is for. Don't get everybody else sick. It's just not polite. It's gross. And wash your hands. If you're using the bathroom. Don't touch other stuff. Anyway, yeah, Jim Mallard. 400th episode tonight, and that'll be after my show, so it's not going to interrupt me at all. And you could find that at mallard.com, and it's Mallard with M-A-L-L-I-A-R-D, and it's weird because I have mallard ducks outside of my window. I don't think they're there now. They were there this morning and the last couple of days. Weird. I don't live by a pond. I don't know what's going on. Could be Jim. But anyway, if you have time tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, poke yourself on over to Mallard.com and give a shout out and congratulate him on 400. That's I'm almost there. 10 weeks is going to be a long time, but yikes. I don't know. I got a little nervous and excited for 300. So I can't imagine what he's feeling for 400. And Jim and I, we've known each other for quite a long time. We've both been doing this grind for the live radio stuff for a long time together. And cool cat. We used to be on the same network together way back in the day. And a great guy, great radio host. And I love the fact that he's stuck with it. He's done his own format for as long as I remember. And I try to do the same thing. It's a little different than what everyone else does out there as far as the paranormal news is concerned, and I hope you like it. I get a lot of people complaining, hey, you need to have guests on your show. What, just like everyone else? I mean, I do have ideas for that, but it's really hard to book certain things that I want to do on the show in a very short period of time for the kind of things that I do want to cover, but we shall see. We got a long way to go. I mean, this is only episode 390. We got a long way to go out there, so hang in there. We'll see. And yeah, tonight, while I got you, we're going to be talking about the Loch Ness Monster is back. It's made its fourth appearance of the year recently. I don't know. Are they going to break the record of last year? I think it was, 15 times officially seen? Now, officially, what you don't see is me here in the studio with my fingers flapping in the breeze as air quotes. Yes, seen 15 times, but some of those were pretty, I don't know, not very convincing. That's trying to use the G-rated language. Yeah, some of these pictures and videos were not very convincing, but we'll find out who and what. Maybe this could be the clearest photo of the Loch Ness Monster in history. Find that out tonight. And we're also going to talk about where to spot Bigfoot. And bring your blurry camera to get some pictures. And we'll talk about, are UFOs just earthly time travelers of the future? I kind of made a hint to this story last week. Just didn't have time to cram that one in there. And I figured it would be hanging around, and sure enough, it's been popping up in various news feeds over the last few days. So we'll kind of iron that one out a little bit and talk about that. A couple of videos as well. One about over Lake Erie. And of course, I knew this was going to happen. Yes, another UFO over Norway. And like I said, I knew this one was going to happen. So we're going to talk about that as well tonight here on the Paranormal News Insider. And if you're listening and it is, if it's April 16th, first of all, welcome to the future, or the past, I guess. I'm speaking to you from the past. If you're listening to this on April 16th, it's because that week I'm going to be on spring break, as is the entire network here at paranormalking.com. It's just, I don't know. We're kind of I don't know. We're just taking a break. Just taking a week. We're allowed to do that. Spring break. We're all going to go down to South Padre Island, I think. I don't know. Well, anyway, speaking of Jim Mallard and the Mallard Report, he's just popped his head into the chat room. And again, I want to congratulate him on show number 400 coming up tonight. Mallard.com. That's a big deal. It is. I was all excited and jumping up and down for 300, and I know 350 wasn't quite as special. Those odd, those crooked numbers. But man, 400. I can't wait for mine. It's a big deal. So anyway, some other stuff that I want to mention. I got an email a couple of days ago. Forgot to get a hold of this person. And I forgot to update the website. Of course, if you didn't know, but I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but I do keep track of paranormal conferences, conventions, UFO conferences, conventions, as well as cryptozoology conferences and conventions on the website of paranewsinsider.com. And one I've just got an email for a few days ago. I don't know why I just didn't check my email or respond or update this. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, want to mention that the Kansas City Paracon, the KC Paracon 2019, is taking place on August 2nd and 3rd, 2019, down in Kansas City, Missouri. Not Kansas City, Kansas. Kansas City, Missouri. Across the river there. This is an event. This has been going on for a while, and it was one that I was just waiting for the website to come back on. And sure enough, there it is. And it's been going on for a while. I believe this is the 8th annual Kansas City Paranormal Conference. And it's always a big draw. It's a pretty populated area, and it's kind of the keystone of the Midwest. I don't know what they call it down there actually, but I'm sure it's I know it's a populated area. I've been through there a few times on my various travels and journeys throughout the United States, and I'm sure that there's a lot of paranormal people that will descend upon this event. So again, I want to mention that. I'll get that put up on the website tonight as I'm updating my show and everything else. Yeah, Friday, August 2nd and Saturday, August 3rd of this year, down in Kansas City, Missouri at the Kansas City Masonic Temple. So wanted to shout that one out to you guys. And again, if you have any information on any event and you want me to talk about it, you want me to put it on the website, let me know. I do the best I can to keep that thing updated, but I can't be everywhere, and I don't see all the events. I try to put what I can find out there, and the ones that I know have a good track record or that seem like they're going to be definitely be going on. But again, I can't get all of these, and that's where you guys come in, the listeners. Again, if you have any information about any event and would like to hear about it on the show, as well as have it as a link on the website, I'm telling you, that page on the website gets more hits than anything. Any website that I've owned or operated over the last 15, 20 years of doing websites. It's very, very traffic heavy. And don't even think about stealing it, because I'll find it and I'll have you shut it down. But anyway, link to me, that'd be great too, and I will link to you and all those friendly things. But again, if you want to get that on there, insider at paranewsinsider.com is the email address. And if you also go to paranewsinsider.com, you can click on the about/contact page, and there's a little form to fill out. It's really quick. It's really painless. You're not giving any rights away or anything like that. Don't worry. Very simple form to email me, and I'll work on that right away. I promise. Sometimes it may take me a couple of days, but I'll get that updated for you as soon as possible. Yeah, so that is that. And speaking of conferences, conventions, I do want to mention again the Cayuga, Indiana event of Willow's Weep House. That's called the Haunt Fest 2019. It's taking place in, again, Cayuga, Indiana, which is right on the border there, I guess, with Illinois. You're going to have John Zaffis, David Weatherly, Dave Spinks. It's a pretty good lineup, and I'm sure that I think there's other people. I always forget to update this list, but there's going to be a lot of speakers there. Day tours of the house. This thing's shaped like a cross, people, so have your A game for this one. It's going to be a really interesting event, and you can buy tickets through PayPal and go to the Facebook event site, which I'll throw that link in the chat room, and hopefully I'll remember. Yeah, I did do it this week. Try to get that in the weekly rotation of my emails that I send out through Facebook, which also go to Twitter from my social media outlets, my socials. Is that what you guys say? The young peoples? Do they say socials? We're talking about their multiple social media outlets? Probably not. I'm showing my age. Yeah. I have email addresses older than most people. So yeah, there it is in the chat room. The Facebook event site for the Summer Haunt Fest 2019 taking place in June 21st. That's right around the corner. It's really not that far away. In Cayuga, Indiana. And I know I'm excited. My summer is about to take off for myself. I do have a radio appearance. Trying to find it here in my notes. Yes, April 19th. I would have just waited one more second. April 19th, Friday, I will be appearing on Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. And it's going to be a late night show. It's going to be live at 9 p.m. Pacific, but unfortunately, I'll be on the East Coast. So it's going to be right around midnight. So 11:59 Friday or midnight, so officially Saturday, April 20th. But either way, that sounds like it's going to be a fun show. I'm excited for it. I haven't been on the other side of the mic in a while, so I'm nervous. No, I'm not. I'm not nervous. Never get nervous on the radio. It's fun. I enjoy not having to have control of the show. I like giving up sometimes and just having fun and talking about what I'm doing and what's coming up. And what's coming up for me kicks off just a couple of weeks later, May 3rd, May 4th. I'll be all the way up in Houghton Lake, Michigan at the Haunted Heights Paracon 2019, and a lot of ghost stuff up there. But me, no way. I'm talking about UFOs. Really excited about that. Talking about gosh, it's old now. It's 2 years old. My book, my latest book. I got to start writing. I do need a week off next week. Start writing, trying to finish one of my books. Yeah, my last book, Handbook for the Amateur UFO Researcher. If you're interested in researching and investigating UFOs, this is a great tool, a great stepping stone to becoming a great UFO researcher. I mean, yeah, you could run out and buy MUFON's Field Investigator's Manual for $120. Sure. Buy my book for $15. It's your choice. Anyway, yep, Houghton Lake, Michigan, May 3rd, 4th, talking about UFOs, research and investigation methods. And I want to try to kind of compare it and contrast it a little bit with ghost research. That way I can kind of reach that kind of crowd. Because, that's where I came from too. I've been a ghost researcher, still a ghost researcher. It's not like I quit. I didn't hang up my acronym Well, I did hang up my acronym from my ghost group, but I still research ghosts. Not as much as some of my friends would like me to, but I do get out there, try to get out there, or at least I read books. At least I research. At least I help other people, answer emails. I haven't quit, not retired, just not part of a team, I guess. Well, kind of am, but I'm kind of not. Sounds really wishy-washy. So I'm still around, just not as active as I'd like to be. It's a fun and interesting field, but I wanted to kind of take the ghost field and kind of compare and contrast it with what UFO researchers do a little bit, because I think ghost researchers would be amazed at some of the things that UFO researchers do and how UFO research is where some of their tech came from. Yes. And yes, I would love to have a telescope. Love to have a telescope. Binoculars just don't cut it. And let's see. Oh, wow. How could I forget about this? The PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure. It's coming up quick. The last I read was a couple of days ago, and Eric Altman, who's putting on this event for the third time in 4 years, I believe he said there was less than 30 tickets. Don't quote me. I know there was, so I don't know if there still is. And I told you they would be disappearing fast. A lot of people have been dragging their feet through the mud about this, and people are deciding that, hey, this is the event of a lifetime. And from what I heard, I haven't seen the latest information, but I believe there was another announcement of another celebrity. So already at this event, the Appalachian investigators of mysterious sightings, or in other words, the guys from the Mountain Monsters television show, they're going to be making their second straight appearance. Bill Brock, host of the television show Monsters Underground, Ken Gerhard, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Cliff Barrickman of Finding Bigfoot, also Stacy Brown Jr. will also be appearing. Was on the Spike TV's $10 million Bigfoot bounty. Filmmaker, musician, looking for that skunk ape down there in Florida. And that's just your celebrity guests. It doesn't even include your 12 and a half speakers, including myself. Lon Strickler, also from the Paranormal King Radio Network, will also be on hand. So very excited about that. That event is going to be my big highlight, but sadly, there's also something happening that weekend that I'm going to have to probably cut that event short, which I don't really want to do, but it's the two best things. I got to catch myself as I get in trouble. Two biggest things, I guess, going on in my life currently with different things, different aspects between hanging out with Eric Altman, Jay Bachochin, Steve Coles, Lon Strickler, all the other dozens of people that are out there. Don't want to cut anybody out, but so many people. I really feel like they're my extended family out there in Pennsylvania. Great people, great researchers, very knowledgeable, extremely down to earth. That part of it, but also my Cleveland baseball kind of family that I've kind of grown with, going to Arizona earlier this year. Well, part of my package of baseball, heading up to Arizona, playing with some former professionals, also includes playing on the professional baseball field, a progressive field, home of the Cleveland Indians. And unfortunately, that's going to be scheduled. And I was hoping that maybe they would change that, but alas, it's going to be on Sunday, June 2nd. So I'm going to have to cut that weekend short. But I'm going to be excited either way to hang out with them and then hang out at a baseball field. But anyway, I have other events, other things I'll be doing, and already talking to some people for Halloween stuff. Man, can we get to spring? Good grief. But looking forward to that as well. And kind of was keeping my schedule a little light. After last year, I was a little burned out. But looking forward to some of these events this year. A question in the chat room. Do I own a ghost box? No. I used to have a ghost box, the old hack, Radio Shack hacks, just to play around with. but I quickly got rid of that because it's not, doesn't really do anything. So let me explain that real quick. So Ghost Box basically is a radio that I call it a sweeper. And basically all it does is it sweeps back and forth through radio stations. Not really super quick, but just kind of quick enough that you can't really hone in on any one conversation. But you are hearing words because radio is either words or music. And as you know, music also sometimes has words. So what happens is, as you're listening to this in the context of being in a haunted location, your mind will hone in on words. And a lot of times it seems that these words have something to do with what you're doing. And many times people will hear very scary things that, again, relate to the people or location. But I would say an overwhelming majority of that, not to be a party pooper here, but it's what's called pareidolia. And you're basically hearing kind of what you want to hear. Because again, you're not hearing usually complete words. You're hearing partial words, partial phrases, partial bits and pieces of music. And your mind basically plays tricks on you. That's how I feel about it. I mean, other people will argue with me, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our own opinions. But my experience of using this in the field, yes, it can seem like it's working. It can seem like it's doing something. But again, it's just like other ghost tech. I challenge you, take it to a kid's birthday party. Do that and tell me if it works there as well. Yeah. Let's see if you get kicked out. Anyway, let's move to some cryptid news. And yeah, we're going to go to Scotland. I was going to say jolly old Scotland, but I'm not sure if they say that there. Now, this headline says it all. All that needs to be said. Loch Ness Monster hunter spots big and powerful beast moving at high speed. So it's been found. Loch Ness Monster discovered. I guess that's it. We don't have to talk about it anymore. It's over. And it's our buddy, our good friend. We've mentioned him before here on the show, Ian O'Fadigan. I'm not sure that's how you say his name, but that's how I see it. And it just sounds really cool. Ian O'Fadigan. O'Fadigan? I don't know. He's a cool cat. He's been on the he's been on the trail for Loch Ness Monster for quite a while now, and he's been in the news off and on since I've been talking about the Loch Ness Monster for the last 10 plus years. And he claims to have seen the Loch Ness Monster performing some maneuvers, as he call it. And he says it's not a boat, it's not waves, it's not a log, and it's certainly not anything else explainable. So that leaves only one explanation. It's the Loch Ness Monster. I mean, it sounds like undeniable proof. I mean, seeing something like this with his own eyes. Well, he didn't actually see it with his own eyes. Well, he kind of did, but not live. He saw it on video. So he didn't really see it. So I don't know how he can exclude these logical reasons, such as a boat, waves, which can be caused by wind. If you've ever been to Loch Ness, which I haven't, but I've seen video, I've seen people talk about this, how the wind can whip around Loch Ness because it's very steep cliffs, a very long body of water, susceptible to some really strange patterns on the surface of the water due to the wind, the angles, and everything else. But he says, no, that's not it. So again, he saw a video, and this video, it's got to be historic. I mean, it's got proof of the Loch Ness Monster. And Ian describes what he saw. He says, quote, "It shows a fast-moving object breaking through the surface of the waters of Loch Ness, creating wash and wake, then diving and coming up 5 seconds later over to the left from its last position, then breaking the surface and accelerating, creating bigger waves, then submerging, but not completely, and is seen turning and coming back down the loch lower in the water before it finally submerges." Yes, I would say the body parts of the creature under the water have to be big and powerful to generate such acceleration. Unquote. Wow, I don't know if you've seen this groundbreaking historic video from Ian O'Fadigan about the Loch Ness Monster, but kind of as expected, I'm not as convinced as Ian is. To me, this could be something as simple as water on the lens, which does happen. Because in reality, looking at the distance that this creature moves in such a short period of time, this thing would have to be moving like 100 miles an hour. And personally, I don't see the waves or the wake that he speaks of, just a white kind of disturbance. So again, to me, it seems like it could be something just on the lens of the camera. I mean, there's just something not right about the video. And really, it sounds impressive. It sounds exciting. Again, it sounds groundbreaking. But you really can't see much detail at all. Just not there. Let me throw that link in the chat room. And again, that's a nice benefit, a nice addition to listening live to the show from the chat room. You can get these fantastic links before everyone else does. But don't worry. Don't fret. I will put these links out through social media during the week after the show is over. And yeah, you can get a hold of them then as well. And it's not going in there. My Facebook, which is facebook.com/Paranews Insider, is also connected to my Twitter account, which is at Paranews Insider. So those two are connected. So fear not. If and I know everyone has their choice, their favorite. So I get that if you have one over the other. And I know I should be getting an Instagram. I should be doing that. I have a personal Instagram, but it seems like a lot of baseball stuff. And I'm trying to get a kind of a business style one going for this show, but alas, have not done that yet. And working on that now that I've had to remove the Google Plus, sadly, from the lineup of social media outlets. But anyway, that is that. And the Travel Channel, not sure if you saw this story recently. They've released a nice little lineup here of places to see Bigfoot. Oh, I forgot one other thing. So Loch Ness Monster, they say it generates 41 million pounds to the local economy. And what does that mean? That's not manure. That's money. 53 million US dollars it equates to currently, March 19th. $53.4 million to the local economy is generated by the Loch Ness Monster. So they're not in a hurry to say that it doesn't exist. That's a lot of dough. Yeah. So the Travel Channel, a little story here. It says, In Search of Monsters. Came out back on March 29th. A little close. A little too close to April Fool's Day, but we'll take it. and it's the 8 best places to see Bigfoot right now. I don't know about right now, but they could have said currently, or I don't know. So if you're looking to plan your summer vacation, here's 8 states that you might want to consider. And this is from purportedly never before released data from the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, also known as BFRO. You know, the guys from that TV show? And I mentioned Cliff Barrickman. You also got Matt Moneymaker and Bobo. You know those guys. Anyway. And I don't know why I didn't talk about this either, but the Travel Channel had a new series called In Search of Monsters, which started back on Wednesday, April 3rd. I've not caught that yet. I'm going to have to, I don't know if I'll have time tonight, but I'm going to try to catch up on that and let you guys know. If you catch up on that, let me know. Or if you've seen it, has anyone seen it out there? Chat room? Search of? No? I guess not. I don't know. I'm interested in this show. I think it's going to be... we don't really have too many cryptid shows left anymore with Bigfoot going away. And some of these ridiculous shows on Bigfoot I think are a little crazy. But In Search of Monsters promises to be something that's going to expand a little bit further away from just the... and not to say Bigfoot is boring, but there's a lot more stuff out there than just Bigfoot and Chupacabra and the Loch Ness Monster. But anyway, this story is on Bigfoot because that's the big draw. There's more conferences for cryptozoology just for Bigfoot than there is anything else. So it is the big draw. It's what people like. They want to talk about. So a combination of witnesses, eyewitnesses, and different sources sent to the BFRO have compiled themselves. They say after analyzing 23,000 sightings across the country, Travel Channel has determined the 8 states with the highest likelihood of having your own Bigfoot encounter. And BFRO has this thing. I didn't know this. They have, it's called the Follow-Up Log and Tracking System, or FLATS. It's the world's ultimate Sasquatch database of compiled sightings and testimonies. Interesting. So according to this data, and I don't know how far back this goes, but it says Washington State has 2,032 sightings. I don't know when that started, when they started creating this, but it sounds like they go back pretty far because they have 1924, which is one of the big famous ones of Ape Canyon. That's a really good story. But Washington State is probably your most popular one. I would agree with that. I've been to Washington a few times. Not seen Bigfoot. Not exactly. I've seen a lot of statues and coffee places geared towards Bigfoot. It's pretty interesting. But that's your number 1 state. And California, number 2, 1,697 sightings. And that's the big one. That's where 1958 Jerry Crew stumbled upon footprints on a dirt road, and hence the newspaper came in and called this new Sasquatch Bigfoot. So the media coined the term Bigfoot in 1958, and this is also, California is also where the Patterson-Gimlin film was filmed in 1967. So a pretty popular state for Bigfoot sightings, if not historic. I don't know recently. There's been some questionable ones I've heard about, but California, put it on the map. And I mentioned hanging out with the Pennsylvania crew out there for the PA Bigfoot Camping Adventure, and I've been to a lot of conventions, probably more conventions in Pennsylvania than I have in my home state here in Ohio. But Pennsylvania, according to this story, is number 3 behind California. 1,340 sightings. And of course, you have the Appalachian Range. Big area for all sorts of strange things, including Yes, Bigfoot. And right behind them is Michigan with 1,131 sightings, and talks about the Dog Man. Michigan may be more known for the Dog Man than anything, but it also has some Bigfoot sightings. And I don't know, my maps always put PA kind of right there at number 5 or 6, depends on which one. Michigan is usually top 10, but I didn't know they were this high up in this new data. Also up there, New York, 1,068 sightings. And we've heard about it. We've talked about it here on the show the last couple of years. Whitehall, New York. It's long been known as the Bigfoot capital of the East Coast due to a lot of sightings back in the 1970s. They've had some recent ones as well. And yeah, New York. A good buddy Steve Coles, the Squatch detective, patrols the mountains out there in New York. He's got his eyes peeled. Meanwhile, Ohio, good old Buckeye State, there it is, 1,042 sightings right behind New York. How exciting. Ohio, believe it or not, is usually in the top 5 no matter where you're looking. Usually BFRO has Ohio number 4 or number 5. Close to Texas and Pennsylvania as well. So Ohio has historically been one of the top states for Bigfoot sightings, but I think that's historic. I don't think we've had much since the 1970s, 80s, because it seems like it went from the north. So usually been in the eastern part of the state, but it started more in the northern part, kind of where I'm sitting right now, and has kind of moved south of where I am to what's called the Sasquatch Triangle by researcher Don Keating, Ohio researcher Don Keating. And I don't know, now it seems like it's really happening more in the south than anywhere else. But nonetheless, proud to have Ohio on this list. The top 8 places to find Bigfoot. Of course, we've had the Grass Man. And I know Michigan also shared that name, the Grass Man, of these creatures. Then we have Oregon. Can't forget that. It's sandwiched right there between Washington and California. So it's not like Bigfoot's just going to jump out there in the Pacific and swim up on the California shores. Of course, Oregon, part of the Pacific Northwest, going to be a hot spot there. We've got a lot of volcanoes, got a lot of mountains, got a lot of heavy mountain areas. So, of course, sure he's hanging out there as well, eating some Tillamook cheese. Had to get that in there. Texas finds its way as the number 8 state in this article, turning in 806 sightings. And Texas, it's a big state. Let me tell you, I've driven through there more times than I care to admit, and it's big. Everything is bigger in Texas. Well, almost everything. But I don't know if Bigfoot is, but definitely you wouldn't think Texas has heavy woods, but I tell you, I've been out in some of these, and they're very thick. So I do believe that like Bigfoot can hide Texas, especially East Texas, because the Western is a little bit more desert. But definitely East Texas, if you're not running into a wild hog, probably going to run into Squatch. Big Squatch. Anyway, let me throw that one in the chat room for you all as well. There it is. And again, don't worry if you're not listening live in the chat room. I get it. You got things to do. You got to study. You got to do homework. You got to get up for work. I get it. But don't worry, because during the week, I will be putting this out through social media outlets. And we're going to move to UFO news. Lots of weird stuff in the UFO news this week. And like I said, last week there was a story I wanted to talk about. So this week, kind of interesting. I'm going to cover this one. One of the biggest debates of UFOs is just who or where these crafts are coming from. Outer space, that's great, but what planet, what galaxy are these things from? How can they get here? I mean, space is so vast, it would take so much energy for a craft to get here. Have they figured out how to bend space and time? Are they using wormholes? How are these crafts coming here, and how do they find this small speck of dirt floating around our sun? I mean, it's just mind-boggling if you realize just how small planet Earth is. How are these craft, these UFOs, coming to Earth? I mean, there are many hypotheses about aliens visiting from different places and have been here for thousands, if not millions of years. But this particular thought has been around for a while, and it's kind of bounced around a little bit, but now it's gaining some traction. So is it possible that the UFOs that are reported in the skies, at least the ones that are not explainable, that is, not the Goodyear blimp and not a cloud, maybe they're coming from the Earth instead? Maybe they're ours. They're not from another planet. Maybe they're coming from Earth, but not just secret weapons and secret military operations. Maybe, just maybe, they're coming from the future. And this thought has been published in a new book that came out on March 2nd of this year, titled Identified Flying Objects, a multidisciplinary scientific approach to the UFO phenomena, by Dr. Michael P. Masters. Yes, Dr. Michael P. Masters. And according to his bio on his Amazon author page, it says, quote, Dr. Michael P. Masters is a professor of biological anthropology at Montana Tech in Butte, Montana. He received a PhD in anthropology from the Ohio State University in 2009, where he specialized in hominin evolutionary anatomy, archaeology, and biomedicine. Over the years, Dr. Masters has developed a broad academic background, which began studying physics and astronomy at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, with further undergraduate and graduate coursework in astrobiology, statistics, astronomy, and physics, as well as a perennial review of developments in modern physics regarding time and time travel. Collectively, Dr. Masters' background, education, and current research program combine to offer a unique perspective and a novel approach to addressing unanswered questions pertaining to a widely recognized yet poorly understood aspect of modern global culture, unquote. So what brought him to believe that UFOs are time travelers of future Earth? While speaking to his local news affiliate, KXLF, out of Montana, Dr. Masters said, quote, the phenomena may be our own distant descendants coming back through time to study us in their own evolutionary past, unquote. So one claim that he mentions is that aliens that are described tend to look humanoid. In other words, they have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 5 fingers and toes, and many times look just like us, or even potentially, you could say, a evolved version of us. And this would actually make sense if you've done any research on life on Earth and how it was came to be. You'd realize that any change in gravity, so a distance from our sun, or any kind of a different type of star, number of factors, gases, air pressure, all sorts of different things that have changed on Earth over millions of years, or could be caused on another planet similar to Earth. This would cause a number of diverse evolutionary changes that would appear vastly different than humans. So if we were to evolve on, let's say, a different planet, we may not look exactly the same, exactly what we are. Maybe different. Maybe we'd have small heads instead of big heads. I don't know. Now, like anybody involved in UFOs, sometimes you have to wonder, maybe this guy's a little loony. But his interview, he says, quote, "I do not have a staunch, unwavering devotion to this notion, and I do not claim to proclaim this as a truth," unquote. So that's kind of level-headed. And he says that he remains skeptical to this thought, but the whole premise makes sense, as this would be really and truly the ultimate research for us to do. I mean, think about it, how we've gotten history wrong. We believe things that we think happened didn't really happen due to history being rewritten. History is generally rewritten by those who are either victorious, defeat somebody else, or are just maybe jealous of others. And we get things wrong a lot. We get time frames wrong, years wrong, all sorts of stuff. We get history wrong all the time. And we're constantly studying history to figure things out, even though it doesn't really help us make decisions in the future. But nonetheless, it would be, again, our ultimate experience of researching history. And while this does make a lot of sense, there's, one teeny-weeny little issue with all of this stuff, and that is time travel. I mean, theoretically, time travel to the past could be possible, but traveling back and forth with ease, well, that might not be as simple as one thinks. It's not as easy as what you could put in a book or just brainstorm in your barn. Also, traveling to the past can affect the future. Think grandfather paradox. And one would think that if a culture had the ability to time travel, they would also kind of create a way to successfully cloak their craft. I mean, that would be kind of one of the first things I would work on if I'm going to the past, because they should know that being observed can change everything in the future. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle, you can't really observe anything without changing it. So it would also mess up anything that's going on. So I don't know. It's awful risky to do such a thing. But nonetheless, it's an interesting hypothesis. And if you're interested in checking out his book, again, it's Identified Flying Objects, a multidisciplinary scientific approach to the UFO phenomena, written by Dr. Michael P. Masters. And throw his it's actually his book address. I'll throw that into the chat room there. And again, don't worry, if you're not here, you're not listening live, I will throw that in my social media outlets over the course of the next week or so, and to get that information out to you as soon as I can. And also in UFO news, a weird video. I wasn't going to talk about it, but it's really kind of bugging me, and I can't find any information about it, and I think it's kind of weird. So I'm going to talk about it. It's a UFO video. It's been making the rounds for the last week, and I kind of thought it would die down, but it's, I don't know, it's not really gaining traction, but it's hanging around in the news, so I figured I'd want to talk about it. It was uploaded on April 2nd to YouTube to a kind of a UFO-based YouTube channel called Third Phase of Moon. And it's purportedly of an event that took place back in December of 2018. And the video in question was shot by a father and son who were near Toledo, Ohio, and still by Lake Erie. And They saw something strange in the sky and, well, decided to film it. And of course, it's now thought to be a giant metallic UFO hanging over the lake. The object is a large flat-shaped object that seems to appear to be hanging over Lake Erie. And some have said, well, this is proof of UFOs, as many do with every video that is thought to contain some sort of UFO. Some feel this is proof that there is an underwater base in Lake Erie, which I always find hilarious. People say this all the time. It would be really silly. Lake Erie is the shallowest of the Great Lakes, with the greatest depth being 210 feet, which is in the western portion of the lake. I've been out 30 miles. I've been out scuba diving, or I should say snorkeling. I've gone down 10, 15 feet, and I could still see the bottom 30 miles out. It's not that deep. And again, 210, that's in the western portion of the lake. The eastern portion, where Toledo is the shallowest part of the lake. I mean, you can walk halfway to Canada. Okay, it's not that shallow, but it's pretty shallow. Some think this is a unidentified submerged object, or USO, while others quickly point out that the object is, in fact, above water. Okay, so I guess, does one think that a USO never comes out of the water? It's kind of silly. How would it get there? Yeah, how would it get there? Along with these lines, some think that it's a submarine. But again, if it's not under the water, is it a flying submarine? Of course, it could be the reflection of a submarine. I've seen submarines before, and it kind of has that shape, but the object is pretty far away. So this submarine would probably have to be at least a mile long. It's pretty big. And of course, there's a lot of other explanations. And yeah, the USO, the submarine, not really sticking, because this object does appear, and it could be could just be a, I don't want to call it a hallucination, but it could be really misinterpretation by the light and shadow, that it does look like it's just hovering slightly above the lake. But again, this could be pretty far away. So it might be 40, 50 feet above the lake surface. And some people have said this, hey, it could be a ghost ship. Sure, because most ghost ships look extremely long and thin, like a gray cloud with oval edges. Yeah, I'm not buying that one either. And again, yes, I've mentioned the word cloud, because others, including myself, feel that it's just that. It's just a cloud. And hilariously, some have quickly chimed in to say that they say, of course, well, that's what the UFO wants you to think, or that we're just misinterpreting the UFO. Well, okay, thanks. The lake did have bits of water, I should say ice floating on it back in December, as well as open areas of water. So I'm thinking it's quite possible. I have to go back and look at the weather. It's quite possible this is a low-lying cloud created by the temperature differences in the area. It could be some sort of mirage. It was also hypothesized that mirage of a distant objects raised above the water, like a Fata Morgana type of thing. But to me, looks like a cloud. Possibly a roll cloud, as seen from about 50 plus miles away. Now, the video published by the YouTube channel Third Phase of Moon has garnered, just over 69,000 views. Not that much, but the guy's getting paid. Got to be a decent chunk of change for him. Meanwhile, their link to the purported original video uploaded by the family does not work. or maybe it's been removed. I don't know, but either way, it doesn't work. And do have a picture there that I could show you of this purported cloud. I'm going to give you basically a far away version as well as a zoomed up version. So you'll see the far away on the left side and the kind of zoomed in pixelated version there on the right. Lake Erie UFO, what is that? You can kind of see on really both versions, you can kind of see, it's like a little bit of a shadow underneath it, but there were a lot of clouds in the area. When this zooms in, it's kind of hard to see the other clouds in the area, but that's kind of what I think it is. It's very cloud-shaped, but I don't know. Could be wrong. Maybe it is a metallic UFO. I don't know. Speaking of UFOs, last story here that I want to talk about. I knew this was going to happen. Knew this was going to happen. And yeah, the cloud looks low to the ground, but again, if that's 50 plus miles away, which I just got back from a cruise, and I tell you, from taking pictures, I know exactly where I took those pictures, and I can measure certain things in those pictures, and I'm amazed at how far away certain things really are compared to how far you think they are. And if that cloud is in fact 50 plus miles away, you can still see sky underneath it. Well, and I know some people don't agree with this, but 50 plus miles, you would see a little bit of curve of the Earth. So I know some people think the Earth is flat, but that distance would be much greater than what we're seeing. And it would make sense that a cloud would be that close to the water if you have a very cold spot and warm air. It's just natural. It's like fog. So it's possible. And I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just offering that as an explanation, because that's what I do. Now, again, I knew this next story would happen, and it comes from NASA. They spent some time. We've talked about it here on the show. About the Northern Lights. NASA's been studying the Northern Lights for a few years now, and they've tested some rockets. I believe that was last year. They launched some rockets and caused a little bit of hysteria. I remember I was all excited about it. It was like they kept delaying it, so we kept talking about it, kept delaying it, kept talking about it. They finally launched it, and it was just a couple of like purple clouds. It was nothing to really get excited about. It's kind of sad. It was really anticlimactic. But this year, they launched some rockets on April 5th. What's called a sounding rocket was launched at 6:14 p.m. Eastern Time from the Andøya Space Center in Norway, as well as another rocket just 2 minutes later from the same location. Now, the sounding rocket is just one of 8 planned experiments to study the aurora in what is known as Project Azure. So Azure, A-Z-U-R-E, of course, is an acronym, and it stands for the Auroral Zone Upwelling Rocket Experiment. Sounds exciting. This series of experiments is geared towards understanding what is happening with the Northern Lights in the sky. I mean, we're pretty sure we know what it is, but we want to know more. We know that obviously the Northern Lights, very beautiful thing. If you've ever had the fortune to see them, I've never seen them, but I know here in Ohio I should have been able to see them a few times. Haven't been able to see them. I want to travel to Iceland soon, so I can see them. It's on my bucket list. But we do know, as beautiful as they are caused by very massive collisions by particles of the sun entering the Earth's atmosphere in the ionosphere. So it's some pretty heavy-duty stuff happening up there. And the reason why we really want to know what's going on up there is this is the part of the atmosphere where satellites exist, where space stations will flourish, and humankind, if I don't get in trouble for saying that, is looking to spend a lot more time in the future. So it's pretty important that we get to know what's happening up there. Now, the outcome of this recent experiments were some pretty bright lights up in the sky. Basically, it looked like big poofy little purple and blue clouds, basically, that were about 200 miles up, kind of mixed in, depending upon where you were at, with the aurora that was visible to some people in Sweden. And, well, as expected, when I saw this, I thought, maybe somebody... No. Who would mistake that for a UFO? It's silly. You should know that the experiment's going on. But alas, people witnessed this event and saw photographs, assumed that Earth was being invaded by UFOs. Of course. It's never just a NASA experiment or anything like that. It was very beautiful. I do have a picture that I will share in the chat room, so I know people are getting ready to go, and so am I here out of the chat room, but I just want to share this one last beautiful photo. This was taken from, I believe, Norway, but from this angle with the light up, it's a little further east. So if you're a little further west, the aurora was actually visible. Actually, in this, you can see little wisps of the aurora is really there. But imagine seeing that purple and blue lights just popping in the sky from these rocket experiments. I guess it would be a little unnerving. But either way, it doesn't look like a UFO invasion to me. I don't know I wouldn't know what to expect with it, but yeah. Anyway, sleep tight. Don't let the aurora borealis bite. And just a quick reminder, if you missed it at the top of the show, next week is spring break for the Paranormal King Radio Network. We're all taking the week off, getting rested up, and then we're going to go for our summer run. It's going to be an exciting summer. Just got to get ready for it. So we're going to finish out April, finish strong through May. I don't really know when we'll take another break, but looking forward to putting some shows in a row. It's like I've taken a lot of breaks lately, but it is a grind when you do this week in, week out. So I get it. And anyway, so you won't see me next week, but I will see you in 2 weeks after our spring break. And that will be, let's see, April 23rd. So we'll get 2 more shows in for the end of the month occurs. It's going to be well, my taxes are done. I was going to say it's going to be the day after taxes are due for us in the United States on the 15th next week. But yeah, April 23rd, we'll be back. But for now, keep your eyes in the skies, your ears in the woods, the hair standing on the back of your neck, and always keep your mind slightly ajar. And above all else, don't stop believing. And for the Paranormal News Insider, this is Dr. Brian D. Parsons reporting.